Chapter 1 Overview and Preparation. The Earth Laughs in Flowers. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Introduction. The Azblink secure communication platform is intended to deliver voice/video/text messaging via SIP and XMPP over VPN. Not only with basic functionalities for voice/video/text communication, it is also equipped with the software components to reduce extra equipments for large-scale deployment. For example, it can also stand alone as firewall or router in case those network equipments are needed. It is also with mobile solution with app on mobile devices to have voice/video/text over VPN together. In general, the system is using numerical numbers as SIP accounts, and alphabets as XMPP accounts and email accounts. Note, email only exists in VED build. And an SIP account and an XMPP account will be binding together so that people can use our app on mobile devices with SIP and XMPP together. SIP is used to provide voice and video communication and XMPP is used to text messaging system. As far as SIP along with the associated RTP stream is concerned, the system can work as SBC, Session Border Controller, with RTP traffic going through it instead of letting the RTP stream go in a peer-to-peer manner. It can sit between internet and corporate private network with SIP trunks to other SIP-based systems like IPPBX or IMS provided by telecommunications service providers. It allows SIP registration directly so that it does not need other SIP server to fulfill voice and video communication. If there is an incoming call for a user that is offline, the callee can leave a voice message, and the voice message will be recorded in the system and dispatched to the designated email account. Once the user is online, he/she can access the recorded message with proper procedure. The diagram above indicates that it occupies the position of firewall by facing internet directly. In the meanwhile, it is also at presence in enterprise private network with multiple network interfaces into different subnets. Within the enterprise private network, it can have connection with SIP phone, IPPBX, or other application servers. With protection on the other devices in the private network, we usually require using VPN to connect to the office. The system provides the VPN connection by itself so that SIP and XMPP can be bundled into VPN for secure communication. Not only with single host to provide the service, we also can use it as a basic block to build a multiple host solution to expand the whole system capacity. To build a solution with multiple host configuration, it might need some other network components like routers or load balancers, to fulfill proper network segmentation or service distribution. We try to bring all the software components we need into this package so that it will have more flexibility on the planning stage. And those functions can be delivered to work by installing the host package into virtual machines. Some functions would require special hardware to work well, for example, using network bypass to implement fault-tolerant and high-availability system as indicated below. For those hardware-related solutions, you need to find the specific model numbers to check if those functions exist. In this document, we will introduce the software components along with the host package, and we mainly focus on one host scenario. For multiple host configuration, you might need to check some other application notes. However, the basic principles are all covered in this document. We start with the most utilized scenario to roughly give an idea how the system works. And then, we introduce the details of each function block so that you can adjust the settings for different usages. As mentioned earlier, we bind SIP and XMPP together for a user to use them over VPN on our app over mobile devices. The following procedure is how we create SIP account and XMPP account and associate the two accounts together. How to create an account of XMPP and bind it with an SIP number. We list the procedures step by step as below. The SIP accounts must comply to the dial rules defined in Phone Basic Dial Plan. In the diagram above, it reveals that SIP phones are with dialing pattern _66XX, it means they should be identified as the numbers like 6800, 6801, up to 6899. Before we create SIP account, let us check if VPN is properly launched at VPN connection address pool. Our app on mobile devices will use SIP and XMPP over VPN. And SIP account 6601 is created from the screen snapshot shown above. Phone Basic Add Extension Account by pressing Add button. Once it is created, the account will be displayed in Phone Basic Extension Account. With this SIP account 6601, we create an XMPP account. On System Users Add User, and associated VoIP number. The diagram above shows that the account is created as Lisa. In the field VoIP, we enter 6601. This is where we associate the account used in XMPP and SIP account. Navigating via System User QR, the QR code associated with Lisa will be found out there. The QR code contains the information for SIP and XMPP. It can be used to set up the app on mobile device. Using the app to scan the QR code, it will fetch the VPN key from the server, set up SIP connection and XMPP connection, and perform SIP registration and XMPP registration. As mentioned earlier, the system is mainly designed to sit between public network, internet, and local office network, LAN, with the configuration indicated as the diagram below. Thus, you need a public IP address, for WAN interface, in order to be accessed from internet. We will elaborate on it. Most of the time our applications will be just like the diagram shown above. Eventually, the system might be deployed in a more complicated scenario. The diagram above shows it controls the access between internet and office local area network, bridge VoIP equipments and legacy telecommunications device, forward messages over XMPP and email, and perform address book sync-up and remote file access. But we just keep that simple scenario in mind, every other scenario extends from that basic configuration. The following sections are the preparation for collecting information to configure the system. Domain name and fixed IP address. To let the host be publicly known on the internet with meaningful identifier, you have to obtain domain name at first. Domain name can be purchased in many places over the internet, example www.verisign.com or else. Once you decide to set up your own server with qualified domain name, you can start browsing the names that have not been occupied by the other people. Most of the vendors for selling the domain names will have the mechanism to let you know if a specific domain name is occupied. In addition to the domain name, you also need to have a fixed public IP address for your machine. Fixed public IP address can be obtained from your internet server provider, known as ISP. The reason why we put emphasis on fixed public IP address is that, for the other people to access your server, the IP address should not be changing all the time. For the stability to access your server over the internet, using fixed IP address is necessary. If the purpose of your machine is just accessing the other hosts and the machine itself will not have anybody to access it from internet, a dynamic IP address is enough. But for websiting hosting or mail server, it shall use fixed IP address. After you obtain a fully qualified domain name and fixed public IP address, you also need to find a DNS server to have the information to associate your domain name with the fixed IP address. From the place where you purchase the domain name, it is with the record about the DNS servers, primary and secondary, in use. That record usually points to the DNS servers they prepare for you to keep the association between domain name and IP address. If you do not want to use their DNS servers, you should change the record and enter the IP address and fully qualified host names for your future DNS servers. Most of the domain name vendors provide HOI service for you to check the record of DNS servers used by a domain. Once you go to the correct DNS server to establish the relationship of domain and IP address, it would take around 24 hours to populate the data around the world if it is set correctly. Our system also provides DNS server functionalities. You can decide the DNS server on the system itself or from the other places. There is a command /nslookup on any Windows PC to check if a domain name can be resolved. The following example is to use nslookup to check www.yahoo.com, /documents and settings /user nslookup default server, dns1.snfcca.sbcglobal.net address, 206.13.28.12 www.yahoo.com server, dns1.snfcca.sbcglobal.net address, 206.13.28.12 non-authoritative answer, name, www.yahoo.akadns.net addresses, 66.94.230.47, 66.94.230.75, 66.94.230.32, 66.94.230.36, 66.94.230.37, 66.94.230.39, 66.94.230.42, 66.94.230.44 aliases, www.yahoo.com exit. In general, you can set primary DNS server and secondary DNS server. For the sake of stability, you should put primary DNS and secondary DNS in different places. For example, if you use the service from www.xname.org for primary DNS, you should not put secondary DNS in the same place to avoid service outage at the same time. If you only have one server, SIP server, email server, or website, sitting in the internet, you probably do not care the stability of DNS queries when your only server, SIP/email/web, is down. In this case, you might as well to set primary DNS and secondary DNS to the same physical server. Public IP address and private IP address. Other than naming and addressing issues, you might have other concerns. For example, you want to set up a server that will be known to the other hosts on the internet, like www or mail. In the meanwhile, you have several other PCs that you are going to use them to browse the internet, but those PCs are not like www or mail server that will be seen from the internet. And you only have one fixed public IP address. How do you settle this kind of issues? The Usage Network Address Translation, NAT, is introduced. It allows machines in the private network can share one public IP address by mapping those connections into some logic ports. We will go over more details on that. You might notice we use the term public IP address or private IP address. What is the difference between them? Actually, private IP address space means the IP address in the following range: 192.168.0.0, 192.168.255.255, usually denoted as 192.168.0.0/16, 172.16.0.0, 172.31.255.255, 172.16.0.0/12, 10.0.0.0.0, 10.255.255.255, 10.0.0.0/8, it is the address space allocated for the private network. And those IP addresses are forbidden to use in the public network. With this private IP address space, it allows people with more flexibility to do network design, and it shall be only used within an enterprise. Initial network setting: the system can be configured via the web browser on the other PC. You can plug in the Ethernet cable from your PC to one of the LAN ports of the server. The PC should obtain an IP address via DHCP from server directly. The server is with DHCP server running on its LAN Ethernet ports. So, you should have your PC with DHCP client, obtaining IP address automatically, running. DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, is the protocol that the client can obtain some basic network setting, like IP address, from the server. In our setting, your PC should obtain an IP address at the range 172.16.x.x with the IP address of server's LAN Ethernet port as default gateway. The server is equipped with at least two Ethernet ports. One, ETH0, is connecting to WAN, the other, ETH1, is connecting to LAN. And Network Address Translation, NAT, is working to change the source IP address in the IP header from the packets originating from any machine sitting in LAN. The LAN Ethernet port is with DHCP server running, whereas the WAN Ethernet port is with DHCP client running when the machine is started up at the first time with the factory setting unchanged. Configure via web browser the second Ethernet port, ETH1, of the server is running with DHCP server. Thus, if your PC is with DHCP client running and connecting to that second Ethernet port via cross-wired cable or switch, the PC should obtain an IP address via DHCP. Please keep your network environment clean at this moment without putting other networking device on this network to make sure there is only one DHCP server. Otherwise, you will be confused. Once your PC obtains an IP address from server, try http://server_IP_address 8082/apps/login, admin, password, admin123, this is admin account from web interface. You are required to change the password at the first time you access that page. But what is the server IP address? If you plug in the cable according to what we suggest on ETH1, you can use http://172.16.9.1:8082/apps/. If you plug into the other LAN Ethernet port other than ETH1, you might check the IP address of your default gateway. If you are connecting from one side, you need to find out server's IP address from other DHCP server or the setting previously defined during installation. You will be asked to change the host name and admin password at the first time you log into the system. It is required to enter our predefined admin password, admin123, and the new password you are going to set, and retype the new password to confirm it. If you fail to connect to server in this way, you might just consider using console. You can just log into the server from console by typing login, reset password, root 123, this can only be used on console. However, it is advised that you should use web interface to configure the server. This console interface only allows you to set static IP address of one Ethernet port. You will see the screen similar to the following: one IP address, 192.168.19.1852 netmask, 255.255.255.03 default gateway, 192.168.19.14 save and reboot 5 reset to initial CD setting, DHCP, and reboot 6 view current active value 7 exit without saving changes 8 reset firewall setting only and reboot option 1, 2, and 3 is for you to set IP address on the interface ETH0, 1 port, so that you can use the web browser to continue the configuration. After you set the correct data on option 1, 2, and 3, you can use 4 to save the result and reboot the machine. You can just use arrow keys to move to the items you are going to modify and hit enter key on the keyboard.